how often do you see the problem like people have anxiety, try to control sex, and then end up not doing it well?
Yeah, I mean it's a regular issue that I see in my work with men and people of all genders, where they're really experiencing how anxiety impacts their sexual functioning. And oftentimes they have gone to doctors or urologists to get a physical workup, which I think is, the first thing you should do is just kind of, it's a quick and easy sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, and then they realize, oh, this is more about anxiety. This is more about kind of expectations I have of myself, pressure I have of myself, or my partner has of me, or I feel like society is saying that men should have sex in a certain way
Mm.
and perform in a certain way. And it may not actually work for who they are or their nervous system or what they like. And I found that over time, challenging those expectations or notions or narratives that they have to fit into a certain mold really helps them define for themselves what sex means and what pleasure means. And it
Uh,
takes time, but it's worth it.
right, right. So we all know we possibly all experience this that if we are anxious, you just tell them everything gonna be fine, it will be okay, don't
Mm.
worry. It never works, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what that does is that it's an understandable approach, right? You're trying to calm them down. You're trying to tell them like, "Hey, don't worry." But what it ends up happening is it minimizes their experience. For them, that anxiety is super real. It's very, as you experience with and work with sleep, it's very real and very present for them. And for us to be like, "Nah, don't worry about it." It creates this distance. There's they feel minimized and dismissed by it. So my approach is let's understand that anxiety. Let's really get as specific and accurate of a picture of what's going on as possible. And we're not, and then the other thing that we do on top of that, which can be hard, is to not judge yourself while you're understanding. I have so many times people say, "Oh, I have this fear," and then they immediately say, "It's so stupid that I have that fear." And I say, "Hold on, let's just hear what the fear is first. We can think about it later, analyze it later, but let's just name what's going on for you." And I think starting there as a baseline is really, really important.
Oh, I love that. So kind of like people tend to self-criticism and brush away a lot of things, right?
Right.
And not really face the thing. They just say no to it immediately. But I like your approach to really help them label it, name it, sit with it a little bit. To
Yeah.
yeah, even though it's a unpleasant experience, but it's important to look at.
Yeah. And when you said sit with it, it's reminding me of acceptance and commitment therapy.
Mm.
ACT therapy is wonderful for anxiety. And so, it's a really good approach to acknowledging these difficult emotions. And so there's one practice called expansion, where, we do so much work to avoid our emotions, and especially anxiety or fear, but to with expansion, it's what you do is you actually set aside time where you say to yourself, "I'm actually going to sit with this difficult emotion and I'm going to see what it feels like and really just be in it." And you set a timer for, a few minutes, and then you keep expanding that time. And it trains you and your nervous system that, anxiety is not as scary as you thought it was going to be. Or, there's different ways that you can approach it, different ways that you can face it. Because I think avoidance is a really big issue, where men or people end up just not having sex or not going on dates. And that really just kind of compounds the problem.
Right, right. And if they have partners, I can imagine, right? Because they are not confident in themselves, they have fear, they have anxiety, they
Right.
gonna say no to sex, and then that hurts the relationship, hurts the partner's feeling. The partner may interpret that as a, you know, loss of interest or as something going
Yeah,
wrong with the relationship.
absolutely. Yeah, I hear that so much. And that's when we can bring in, the couple into the therapy to talk about expectations and what the meaning is that each partner takes of the functioning issue. Because so often the other partner, and it makes sense, it's very common, for the partner to feel like, "Oh no, is it something about me? Is it something about my attractiveness or sexiness or whatever?"
Mm.
And in reality, it's about the person, what's going on in their own head. And it's they're very attracted to the person. And sometimes even the more attracted they are and the more important that relationship is, the higher the pressure is and the more the anxiety. So it becomes this double-edged sword to kind of work with.
Oh, that's interesting. That's so different than how we think about that, right? We think, well, if I'm so attractive to my partner, I love them so much, I should be able to function very well, but
Right.
they
Yeah.
probably function worse.
Yeah, yeah. It's because it just, it's like, the it's high risk, high stakes. And so I think that's the other thing that we're working with is trying to parse out the worst case scenario thinking or the catastrophic thinking and say, okay, yes, there's this fear. Yes, it's not going to feel great if you lose your erection or whatnot, but what's the worst that's going to happen? And how can you combat that? How can you work with that? And so it's really just kind of identifying what the fear is and, what the reality is of that fear. And not to try to gaslight anyone or dismiss them or convince them otherwise, but we're just trying to get an accurate picture of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. And I feel like so similar to sleep treatment,
Yeah.
right? Like don't catastrophizing. And even if you cannot sleep for how many hours you want, what's the
Hmm.
worst going to happen? Are you still able to function the next day?
Yeah.
Right? And how bad it
Yeah.
is. So don't force yourself to sleep and don't force yourself to get hard or have sex. So
Exactly.
go with the flow, learn how to go with the flow and manage your own anxiety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just kind of learning how to go with it.
Yeah. Possibly, I know it's sounds very easy when we say it, right? It's
Yeah.
also really hard for people to practice that.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that reminder. I try to bring that into sessions quite a bit where I set the tone where I'm like, this is a goal. This is what we're aspiring for. Don't expect yourself to flip, overnight.
Mm. Do you find the partner support is important for people's function and recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like, helping that communication and openness and the support from one another is really, really important. And I like to think of it as rather than one way from like one partner to the other, it's this whole system of how can they support each other. Oftentimes I talk about self-soothing and co-soothing.
Oh.
And so, within partnerships, it's really important to ground yourself enough to help your partner ground themselves and have your partner help you ground you, if that makes sense. So you're kind of like working on your foundation and then the two of you build up from there with each other. So by having the support with the partner, you're not feeling like you have to tackle this all on your own and you're not wondering what your partner's thinking. You know what your partner's thinking. You know that your partner's there and supportive. And so it doesn't mean that you have the supportive partner has to have no needs or no desires or no boundaries. They can still have their needs and desires, but it's just being, thinking about the team or the unit or the partnership together.
Mm.
Because the other side of that is the criticism, the frustration, the panic. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? That doesn't really help with feeling sexy unless that's a kink of yours, then you can agree to it later on.
Right, right. Yeah, there's so many different spectrum within the sexuality, right? And
Right.
what people like in their bedroom or outside the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. I like the word co-soothing, soothing and co-soothing. That's such a great concept.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's I think I've learned it through the developmental model. It's from Menlo Park, Ellen Bader and Pete Pearson. They
Oh, yeah.
it's a couples therapy model, and I think Terry Real also talks about it. But it's a really important thing to think about. It's both you're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of each other. It's not only one way or the other.
Right, right. Yeah, because in sleep world, recently I'm learning this concept called sleep divorce, right?
Uh-huh.
When, sleep schedule is different or you
Uh-huh.
start fighting with each other, criticizing each other, should you sleep separately?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Right. Someone who I've had sleep issues for all of my life and snored on and off. And I can definitely understand, I've had partners be like, all right, you need to go over there with your snoring. So I've had to work on, different techniques for my snoring. But um, yeah, I've felt that panic with sleep, where it's 2 hours after trying to go to sleep and I'm just frustrated. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm not going to be able to. And then you go into the catastrophic thinking, and you get carried, very easy to get carried away and very easy to feel convinced by those fears.
Mm,
And so, as we were talking earlier before recording, was that, it's very similar. The sex and sleep anxiety can be treated in similar ways, as just really kind of mindfulness techniques, slowing yourself down, challenging your own assumptions, um, and also identifying any potential trauma that might be related to these anxieties.
mm. Right, right. Yeah, if trauma is in the picture, right, that's gonna be more complicated. Can you please
Right.
discuss more about the mindfulness technique? Because I think some audience may not be familiar with that. They may hear this word before. Many people may not know it, like
Right.
what that is exactly, and why you think mindfulness skills can help with sexual anxiety or sleep anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, especially, in our present day, we are so encouraged, maybe even forced to just do and produce and, hustle and grind and all that stuff that's being talked about. And that brings up so much stress, and it also takes away being present and being in the moment. And oftentimes people think mindfulness is this state where you just have no thoughts, and they think meditation is, you're not supposed to think at all, when in reality it's not trying to control your thoughts, and it's not trying to control the present moment. It's just taking in what's going on and accepting what's going on for what it is. And acceptance doesn't mean agreeing, doesn't mean you like what's happening. You're just saying, I know what's happening. So if you lose your erection, the acceptance piece is, I accept that it's happening. It's not saying, oh no, it's not happening, don't make it happen, don't, that's the panic. It's saying, all right, my erection went down, and now what? Now what does that mean? And then you identify, okay, it's going to come back. And so one sexual mindfulness technique is called wax and wane, where the guy masturbates until he's hard, and then he lets go, and he allows the erection to go down, and then he masturbates again until he gets hard, and then he lets go and lets it go down. And so you go through this cycle, and what it shows you and your partner, you can do this with a partner, it shows you that just because your erection goes down doesn't mean that it's never going to come back again, that
Mm,
it will come back, that there's a natural ebb and flow to your physiology. So it may not match the practice of what we think is mindfulness, but it's being present with your body and who you are and how you are,
mm,
and accepting the ups and downs, as it were. Um, Another one would be this body scan technique, where you're just lying down and you are kind of focusing from your head all the way down to your toes. And you're just seeing what's happening within your body. You're not trying to control, you're just taking deep breaths and saying, okay, my nose feels like this. My shoulders feel like this. I feel some tingling sensations on my shoulders or some heat in my chest. And you're just kind of going down slowly by slowly, and you're just being in the moment. And that can be a really lovely way of being connected to your body over time.
mm. Yeah, so sounds like a lot of time our life is too fast,
Yep.
right? It's hard for us to even pay attention to what our body is experiencing, where our
Yeah.
emotions are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what
Yeah.
we are thinking, because I know I meet a lot of clients, they cannot distinguish between thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
and they don't realize their body is tense up all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And so I think, there's, it kind of just had the image in my mind of going to a museum and looking at a statue or a picture painting. And I think if we can treat that like kind of doing that to ourselves and just kind of naming what's going on rather than judging or editorializing or analyzing, and just saying, okay, there's tenseness in my shoulders and my hands are clenching up. What would happen if I let go of my hands? Okay, my hands feel a little bit looser. And so, kind of going through that practice and just being okay with what's going on. For some guys, I also recommend that they do the body scan technique while masturbating. That way, that they can see what happens to the rest of their body when they get turned on and when they're seeking pleasure, because so much focus goes on the penis, right? And the guys lose focus that might have pleasure in their neck or on their back or on their nipples. And so really just kind of expanding your definition of what feels good.
Wow, I like that. I never
Uh-huh.
thought about how to apply mindfulness techniques in sexology. That's so
Uh-huh.
cool. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my I wrote a workbook last year called Sex Warriors, kind of like a play on warriors, but it's Sex Warriors, a mindfully queer guide to men's anxiety around sex and dating. And it's on my website, rouseacademy.com. And it's a self-guided workbook for men and their partners to do solo and partnered mindfulness exercises, erotic mindfulness exercises, and also some prompts for guys to really challenge how they see sex and masculinity. Because I think we're told that we have to have sex in a certain way, that we have to show up in a certain way, which may be lovely and true and sometimes, but other times guys want to show up in other ways. And so it's helping them define for themselves how they like to have sex, how they like to show up for their partners, and how they like to show up for themselves.
Wow, that's so important. Oh, I'm so happy you write a workbook on this. We're definitely gonna need to put it on the show note, and hopefully whoever listening, right, have the need can check it out.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
very important. I know some male patients who have medical reasons
Yeah.
and they have ED, right?
Yeah.
But so I want to clarify with you. So for
Mm-hmm.
men, even they have difficulties erect, right? And they can still possibly experience orgasm or sexual pleasure. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, they can absolutely. They you don't need to have an erection in order to orgasm or have sexual pleasure. It can be lovely and nice to have that, but I really want to encourage guys to consider different ways of seeking pleasure. I
Mm.
mean, sadly, some men have completed suicide because of
Oh,
having erectile dysfunction, or have or just avoid relationships altogether. When really it's your penis is not the entirety of your body. You have so much to your body and so much access to pleasure. Your whole body is all your skin is nerve endings, right? And so it's really helping you train yourself to find different ways. I mean, there's been studies where paraplegic men have been able to orgasm even without being able to have sensations in their penis, and because there's just different ways that your body can adapt to what's going on.
right, right. So learn a new way of enjoy sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and similarly to sometimes we have to train people in sleep training, right? To how to accept your sleep. It's different than before, how to still be able
Yeah.
to achieve a relatively satisfying sleep, even though it look different than before.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that goes hand in hand. It's accepting the difference. And to go back a bit, I think there's some great technology that's being developed for sexual functioning, both for men and women. And for men, it sounds painful, but there's shots that there can be done called Trimex. Obviously, there's pills. There's a new technology called gains wave or sound wave technology, where it loosens up the plaque in the veins in the penis to help with blood flow. And I've talked to some urologists who really have seen great results from that.
Oh, cool. Wow. Technology is developing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to add another thing. I think
Yeah.
sleep is also very important because for men who have obstructive sleep apnea,
Yeah.
very likely for them to develop right erectional dysfunction.
Totally. No, I think that goes hand in hand. Absolutely. I think, one thing that I've really learned in my work and training, and also, tell clients about, is we really do need to consider our mind and body together as a whole unit. We can't just focus on the mental or emotional aspects. We also have to think about, what are the physical or medical issues that we can address through adjustments or exercise, because yeah, you need the blood flow, you need the rest, you need your body to be in a parasympathetic nervous system state to get to that uh, pleasure and desire.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. I feel like I learned so much from you about sex anxiety and all these techniques. Sounds like there are psychological techniques, there are medical treatment, right?
Yeah.
And just to find at least sounds like very hopeful. the support
Yeah,
is out there, resources are out there, and you can just try to seek them out.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm learning from you around sleep too. I think it's really, really needed. It's so needed right now to learn about sleep and help with sleep.
Right. Great. So I hope the field, right? There's a lot more we never know. Even within the sexology field, there's so much knowledge in the sleep field too. Research keep on do like researchers doing new research, have new findings.
Yeah,
We are understanding everything more and more.
absolutely. Yeah, there's so much to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So another topic I want to ask you about, because I know you treat a lot of different populations within the sexology field, right?
Right.
So I know one of the population you are familiar with, you work with a lot, is the polyamorous
Yeah.
relationships and couples. I got a lot of questions from my audience when I do
Uh-huh.
sex education for the Asian population. That seems like there are a lot of misunderstandings around that. So I really
Yeah.
want to, discuss that with you for a little bit to clarify some misunderstandings or to educate myself too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I would love to, yeah, help with because there really is there's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions and people thinking that it has to look a certain way when it doesn't have to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one most common questions I get from people is, in a relationship, two partners, right? Partner
Mm.
A really want to open up the relationship. Partner B does not want to.
Right.
Okay. But in order to somehow save the marriage,
Mm.
so partner B will eventually give in to follow partner A. So basically, only one person has an open relationship, the other person doesn't.
Right.
I don't think this is a real polyamorous relationship or open
Mm.
relationship, but I want to double check with you how to understand that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that one because that's something that's getting more and more attention or understanding. And what that can be considered is a poly dash mono relationship. So polyamorous and monogamous relationship. And I know that sounds
Oh.
paradoxical, right? But it's exactly what you're describing, where one partner is polyamorous, one partner is open and seeing people either romantically or sexually outside the relationship, and the other partner is not. And that's achieved through agreements that for one partner having other relationships, romantic or sexual, is a priority for them, while the other partner it's not, and they're working on their attachment style, more of a secure attachment or just understanding their attachment in order to help with that baseline. What isn't polyamory is cheating, right?
Mm.
It's like the other partner saying like, do you want to open up, and the other partner saying no, and that partner saying, okay, sure, no problem, but then still going out and cheating anyways. I think polyamory or ethical non-monogamy has to include agreements or some understanding and communication with each other. You don't need to have rules and laws and all that. It'd be nice. I think some people really like to have those agreements, especially for anxiety or especially for like trying something new.
Mm.
Um, but you don't have to. I think it just depends on what works for you. And so
Mm.
there's different structures within polyamory, but I think it's important for people to realize that they can use that structure as a goal or as a guideline, but they can also make it work for themselves.
Oh, okay, okay. So basically, it needs to be consensual, right?
Yep.
Each partner may have different choice, but they have to both know what's happening and agree with the arrangement.
Yeah. And you're bringing this up. It reminds me that there's actually been more and more support groups and process groups coming out for partners in a poly mono relationship, either for the partner that's monogamous and not seeking relationships outside, or for the other partner, and just to kind of show that it is kind of increasing this agreement,
Mm.
where they're realizing, there's other parts of our relationship that are keeping us together, keeping our love together, or, that we love having a good time together, but just that sexual connection isn't there, or not as much, or the drives are different,
Mm.
could lead them to that type of arrangement.
I see. Yeah, so I think a lot partners may have this worry, right? If one partner open up, will they just leave eventually
Right.
the relationship, no matter it's a marriage or not? And I know there's a common jealousy feeling involved in the process. And I don't know, in this kind of a poly mono arrangement, is this the original partner, the primary partner? Other partners are secondary or purely sexual, or it's different?
Right. It's up to their arrangement, but that are those are some examples, right? It could be a poly mono relationship or the polyamorous. The agreement is that the polyamorous partner only just has sexual relationships, one night stands, or hires sex workers, or goes to play parties, and that's kind of the containment. That's the agreement is it's only there, no romantic relationships or whatnot. In other relationships, the polymono, it's okay. I have one other partner, and that's it. It's I have two partners, and I'm good, and that can be the agreement. And so there can be different ways to um, make the agreements work for the partnership.
Okay. So when you work with this kind of population, do they need help to sort this kind of agreement out, or what are some common issues they come to seek therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think within that, the way that I love to work with couples that are opening up, or so just to kind of take a step back, I work with couples who are either opening up, um, changing their existing agreements, or closing their relationship after being open for a certain amount of time. And I've worked with couples that are very fresh in doing this to couples that have been doing this for 25, 30 years. So it's been really cool to see the breadth and depth of how polyamory can show up. Um, but what can be really helpful for them in that process is um, helping with communication, how they talk to each other, how they respectfully talk to each other, how they also talk directly about their fears, their anxieties, their pain, and also their excitement and their joy. So trying to build that culture of open communication, um, and then working on identifying their values. So, like, what is really important to you? What are your guiding values? And using that as helping them understand, okay, what are their agreements going to be? How are their communication style going to be? Um, things like that. And my background, both of my parents immigrated. My father was from Iran, and I love working with multicultural couples and people that are first generation. I'm first generation, and so also kind of working with some of the cultural expectations that we have or religious expectations that we have from either American culture or from our ancestral culture. Um, and really pushing against or just questioning, what are some of the norms or expectations that we have.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the world is changing so fast,
Right.
and right, relationships, just the format of relationships are changing too. I think I
Yeah.
heard a lot of lectures before from, for example, Esteem Pro. She
Mm.
talked a lot of relationship and how in the ancient time we need a village to raise children,
Oh
right?
boy.
And
Yeah.
that help with forming different type of relationships around marriage. But nowadays it's so different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a business contract nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some polyamorous relationship they have like 30-page long agreement. I
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's typical or it's extreme case. That sounds intense.
Yeah, I don't think that's too typical. I haven't heard about it too much, but I think having having some like worksheets or some sort of agreement could be good, but it also depends on the personality types that are in that relationship.
Mm, yeah. Well, that's very interesting. So if a couple are thinking about opening up
Hmm.
or they need some more guidance, right, in the process, uh, sounds like they can look for your service and right, your group practice. And I don't
Yeah.
know whether you wrote any books on this topic or you have any groups resources available to recommend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my practice, Rouse Relational Wellness in San Francisco, we're actually just opening up a suite of offices in a couple of months in the Castro district. So it's going to be really, really nice.
Oh, Woo!
collecting furniture now, and it's been fun project. I was just looking at doors earlier today. Anyways, yeah, people can reach out to me at rousetherapy.com. It's ROUSE therapy.com. We have individual relationship therapy and group therapy. At the moment, we don't have any groups for polyamory, but that is something that we're talking about given just the growing interest going on. Um, Also, an author, Martha Kauppi, Kauppi, has written a really good book on polyamory, and then another book called Polysecure by Jessica Fern is an amazing book on polyamory and attachment. And so, if people can certainly reach out to me or look at my website. We also have blog posts on different things, or they can check out these other authors. There's lots of resources out there for people that are wanting to open up.
Okay, great. So sounds like people can either get individual, professional guidance, or
Yeah,
they can, read some books to learn more about this.
yeah, yeah. But I think big thing is helping yourselves manage your anxiety, manage your fears and excitement as well, and also working on different types of communication with each other.
Yeah, I think communication is so important.
Yeah, yeah,
No matter you are opening up or just, it's just a one-on-one relationship,
yeah,
you still need to communicate. But the funny thing is, when people are so okay to talk about going to restaurant, what food you want to eat, but they are
yeah.
not good at talking about sex,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. And both are about pleasure. Both are about what feels good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. What do you like to eat, right? Okay, but what do you want on bed? No.
yeah, yeah. And I think I've gotten the feedback from clients that they've learned about sex through working with me and all that, but really what was helpful was them getting more comfortable talking about sex. We've learned many different cultures that we just don't talk about it,
Right.
and just kind of building the practice of talking about sex and talking about what you like and what you don't like. I think that alone is really important. It's a really important skill to have with your partner or partners.
Right, right. Yeah, especially Asian population. Your
Hmm.
multicultural background, me too. I think in Asian culture, it's still a
Hmm.
taboo. So it's
Yeah,
definitely no talking or not comfortable talking about it.
right, right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, David. This is very helpful information. And I know you already gave us your website. And is there any other social media platforms if you have that you want people to follow if our audience are interested?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Rouse Therapy at all the platforms. So it's ROUSE Therapy on TikTok and Instagram are the biggest ones, but I'm also on Twitter and Facebook.
Great. Yes, I
Yeah.
will put all those on the show notes. So when people are
Oh, thank you.
listening, they can find all the links all together.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been really fun to chat with you and learn with you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm
Thank
glad we
you for
met.
coming.
Yeah.
Okay.